Welcome to VTubing 102, Chapter 1, Guide to VTuber Model Setup, and in this chapter we'll be specifically focusing on PNGTubers. So what exactly is a PNGTuber? Simply put, it's a group of images that sync with your mic. So this allows you to have a character on screen that reacts to your speech, but it's not a fully rigged model that tracks your movements and facial expressions. Now, what are the pros and cons of PNGTubing? The pros are that they're quite a bit easier to either acquire or create as well as set up. Now, because they're less complex, that also means you're going to have fewer technical issues arise. There are a lot of free customizable options, and you're not really going to get that with a live 2D model. And maybe the biggest benefit of all, you don't actually need a camera. So the setup and operation of your stream has one fewer elements to worry about. Now, what are the cons? Because they're so static, they're a bit less visually engaging, they're a bit less immersive than live 2D models. You're a little bit more limited with expressiveness, although you can still have different facial reactions you toggle on by connecting them to hotkeys. Also, you're a bit more limited when it comes to integrations that interact with your model. Where do we get a model? This is a very non-exhaustive list, but I do have a few places you can start. The first two are free options. You could simply create or draw one yourself. You do not have to be a professional artist. Something simple and funny people would really love. The next is a master list of pick crew, which are customizable PNG creators that this VTuber EG put together. I'll have their video about it and the link directly to the document down below. Before we dive into that list, you can also get a PNGTuber through Emote Lab, which is an animated emote creator. Right now it's only $9 on Steam, and they actually have PNGTuber options in their program. And lastly, you can custom commission a PNG. From what I've seen on VGen, simple ones range from $40 to $80, and more advanced ones that have dynamic movement and are a bit animated, both talking and when you're not talking, can be anywhere from 90 to 150 plus. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's go back to EG's list and take a look. Now, one thing I really like about the list they put together is that they did their best to check and make sure all the ones they included were specifically labeled for commercial use, so there'd be no issue with VTubers using them as their PNGs. And if you use one of these for your PNG, be sure to give them credit on your channel. They put together so many good options, so scroll through here, see if there are any art styles you like, and what we'll do is we'll pick one, go through the creation process for our instructor Lancelot here, so you can see the process from start to finish. Now, once you've completed your design, you're going to want to go back into the editor and make sure you have these 4 variations. You need mouth open with eyes open and eyes closed, and then mouth closed with eyes open and eyes closed. With our PNG put together, it's time to use a program called VTube Mini to bring those images to life. To download the program, simply head to veto.tube, I'll put the link down below, and download VTube Mini on the left here. So when you load up VTube Mini, this is what you'll see. I have one of the default avatars in there, and the very first thing we're going to do is get our model put in. So if you look in the top right, you'll see these 4 boxes, and these are the closed mouth image, open mouth image, and then closed mouth blinking and open mouth blinking. This is why we created those 4 versions of our PNG. So all you do is click on the picture, and we will replace the image with ours. So the first one I'm looking for is eyes open with mouth closed. It'll be this one. Great, and there we are. However, if I talk, it swaps to the wrong one. So we need eyes open, mouth open. So I'll click once again, replace image, and find eyes open, mouth open. There we go. Now when we talk, it switches to the mouth open. However, you can see it's still flashing to the other model. So let's upload our blinking images. And there we go. Now we have all 4 versions added. The model will blink and also open its mouth when it talks. Moving on down, we're going to click on this pencil icon to see the state properties. First, we can rename it. Let's name it something like Lancelot Main. You can also change your blink interval and blink duration. So that's how frequently you blink and then how long the blink lasts. The next section below that is the state effects. So this is going to be what your model does when you're speaking. What I like about VTube is you can add a little bounce to it so that it's not just a very stationary, static picture. So what you do is you can click directly on it, which will open the drop down, and we can change this from shaking to a more intense shake. There's vibing, which is more of a sway, but each of these let you adjust the amount being the distance and then the velocity being the speed. So if we turn this up, it'll move quite a bit more. We can also add a transition. So what this does is it adds a specific effect that happens when you go from not speaking to speaking. So on my first word, it does a bit of a hop. Testing, testing. So it still does the sway when I'm speaking, but when I stop and start talking, it does a quick hop. Now what we can do is add our other facial expression. Using the Pit Crew creator, I created an alternate version that I can use as an expression. So I can click this arrow and then hit this plus. That will duplicate our main model. And from there, we can replace the images we want. So for closed mouth, I'm going to put this one. Let's take a look at the top left now. So what we have here is the microphone volume cutoff and the microphone delay duration. To show you how this works, first I'm going to raise the mic volume cutoff. So what this does is if I'm not talking loud enough, it won't trigger the model to move. So I want to lower this so that if I'm talking quietly, it still triggers. So I'm looking at the green bar to see what my lowest speech still reaches. And it's right about here. But you don't want things like background noises or your keyboard noises triggering the volume cutoff. Now on this side, this is the microphone delay. What that means is if you have this all the way at the top and you have slight breaks in your speech like this, it'll flicker up and down. The second you're not making noise, it shuts off your PNG. What I think looks a little better is if you turn this down a bit. I usually go around 250 or so. That way, if I'm continually speaking, even if I have slight breaks in words, it's not bouncing up and down. Now, before I forget, we want to make sure we have a hotkey to toggle our alternate face. So I'm going to make my main one that (1), and then I'll make this one (2). So now when I use that hotkey, it instantly toggles. We're all set up and ready to PNGTube. The next step of getting this into OBS will be covered in VTubing 104. Now, if you already have or plan on getting a live 2D model, there are still some benefits to making a PNGTuber of your model. Now that could be a PNGTuber using screenshots of your live 2D model that you took in VTube Studio, or using something like Pit Crew to create a chibi or alternate version of your character. The reason you may want to do this is first, for a program called Discord Reactive Fugi. This is a program that connects to your Discord profile, and if you collab with other streamers, if they have this added to their stream, the picture of your character that you upload is what will display. Now, the other reason it may still be worthwhile creating a PNG if you're a live 2D VTuber is running a PNG is much less resource intensive on your computer. So if you don't have an extremely powerful PC, so if you're playing a resource intensive game, you may want to switch to your PNG so that your stream runs more smoothly. And here is your homework for the items we've covered in this course. First, create or acquire yourself a PNG model, get all of your expressions organized in your stream file folder, and then set up VTubE Mini.